Welcome to the Unpacking It Live podcast presented by Medi-Share. I'm Bryce Johnson. For that, we will unpack sports, faith, and life with you and the Unpacking It community of sports fans. So glad to be here. We missed you last Monday. Hope you had a great Memorial Day. But we have a lot to discuss and unpack today as we go heavy in on the NBA Finals. Last night's game, it was a little bit of a blowout there at the in the third quarter, thanks to the Golden State Warriors. But overall, through two games, we've got a competitive series. Very entertaining. Lots of storylines, interesting players, great performances. Tatum struggles game one, plays well game two. The rest of the Celtics were great in game one. Hello, anyone home? Game two, three different starters for the Celtics scored 2 points. How does that even happen? I feel like if I at least was on the floor for 30 minutes, So tough night for the Celtics, but I do want to unpack the idea that both of these teams have great defenses. And so we'll do that during our Unpack This segment. During I'm Convinced, we'll talk about Draymond Green. And then during Tap Drill today with Henry Bieneme, who's here with us, talk about a bunch of different topics. John Madden, video games, the match, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and the quarterbacks. And so we'll have some fun with that. In a little bit, Luke is going to share kind of one of his pet peeves. And I think you're going to be intrigued by it. And I may even disagree with him. I'm not sure. When he was telling me a little bit about it earlier, my initial thought was, I think I go the other way on that. But we're going to give him an opportunity to get that off his chest. And so we'll do that in just a little bit as well. Well, thanks to everybody that is watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We appreciate it when you share, when you comment. Let us know, what you're convinced of on this Monday. And for those of you that have been watching the NBA Finals, what have you thought of the finals so far? And I know that I have friends that don't like the NBA, and they turn it on, and they're looking for reasons to not keep watching or not like the NBA. And if that's you, I would also like your opinions. And maybe throughout the show, I may even kind of combat some of the criticism that the NBA gets a lot of. But we are going to talk about the kind of the Draymond Green situation that also speaks to some of the issues that people have with the NBA. So we'll touch on that in just a moment. One announcement before we get going too. During Father's Day weekend, we are excited to partner with the Fatherhood Festival. And so I'm going to be in Canton, Ohio at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it's going to be an incredible weekend starting Friday night all the way through Sunday. And for those of you that may be in the Ohio area that can get to this event, would encourage you to check out fatherhoodfestival.com. And for those of you that can't make the trip, we'll be doing a simulcast that actually I'll be hosting. And so I'm excited to be a part of this event. And it's at the Hall of Fame Village. And so they've got a stadium, and it's just it's a weekend for the whole family. And so there's a concert with Jordan Davis, and then a bunch of NFL players are going to be a part of this as well. Anthony Munoz, Mike Singletary, some other, the McCaffrey family. So a lot of people are a part of it, and we're thrilled here at Unpacking It to also with the Fatherhood Festival. And so you can go to fatherhoodfestival.com. We just had Justin Batt on our podcast last week, who's the founder of this. And so he talks more about it, and you can get all the details there. But pretty cool, pretty cool event for the whole weekend, for the whole family. All right. So I also, before we dive in even further, I do want to thank our presenting sponsor, Medi-Share. They continue to stick with us, and we love our partnership. So if you're looking for an affordable, reliable healthcare option that you can trust, check out Medi-Share today. Go to medishare.com/unpackingit. Medi-Share offers programs for every budget. So if you're an individual, parent, small business owner, ministry leader, or you're self-employed, Medi-Share has options for you. And the best part, their members on average save 50% or more on their healthcare costs. And so that's medishare.com/unpacking it. All right. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here with us. I know your wife, Madeline, had a big weekend and you were full on supportive mode. But
yeah.
today we get you on air. You get to shine today. So we're here together, and your wife, she had a big third place performance in the triathlon.
Oh yeah,
right?
her first triathlon. Very proud. I'm a very
Nice.
proud husband. Watching my wife compete, I was like, wow, this is incredible. I will gladly play a role of supporter while she plays role of competitor. So her first triathlon, she was a runner in high school, has done 3 half marathons. And her friend, kind of joking, were like, yeah, we should sign up for a triathlon. And then eventually they kept saying, wait, are we being serious about this or are we joking? And they ended up signing up for it, trained a few months, and she did tremendous, got a trophy, a medal. Very proud of her. And then we had a ginormous brunch after the triathlon. Nice. So she earned it. Very proud.
She got a medal and a trophy?
So it was a participation medal.
Okay.
Everyone got the finishing medal,
nice.
Which for a triathlon, I'm all for participation medal because that is some difficult participation. And then obviously, if you finish first, second, or third in your age group. So her division was females age 20 to 24 and third place. So very proud of her. And she had a good little celebration watch committee that came out. So I would say she was one of the more popular competitors in regards to fan attendance. It was impressive. Good turnout.
I love it. Well, that's great. So big win for her to finish third. That's strong. First one, nice debut. And let's jump into the NBA Game 2 in San Francisco. Golden State able to bounce back and get the win, which we expected. And going into the game, my first thought was, well, Golden State's going to come out and blow out the Celtics. And then I started thinking, I was talking to my brother. I was like, you know what? Can you really Celtics with that great defense and, defensive player of the year? Is that possible? And then he reminded me, hey, they got blown out against the Miami Heat. And so we know what the Warriors are capable of. And so we saw that last night. And I'm going to talk more about the defense for the Warriors in a little bit. But let's start with kind of what everybody's talking about and just sort of the controversy of the night. And I'm convinced that every NBA team needs a Draymond Green type player, because I think about the Lakers and Ron Artest. I think about the Bulls and Dennis Rodman. I think about the bad boy Detroit, Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mahorn. And every team has, the tough guy and the guy that just roughs up the game a little bit, and that's part of the deal. However, I'm also convinced that you have to keep those guys in check, because if you don't, they can cost you. And if the Warriors aren't careful, I think Draymond Green can cost them again, because we remember he cost them when he messed around with LeBron James, and they messed around in that series, and the Cavs came back to win despite being down 3-1 just a few years ago. And so, I'm convinced it's shocking that the refs last night allowed Draymond Green to get away, with a lot of the chippiness after he got his first technical.
Yes.
And so it became clear that they were going to give him some room. They didn't want to eject him from the game. And even Steve Javie, the ref that represents the ESPN crew,
TV star now, that's
TV guy, given his input, it's like, no, this is the right decision. Let Draymond play. He messed around with Jalen. His pants. I mean, it's just, but Draymond Green got away with it. And so the question becomes, are you as a fan okay when the refs give this type of leeway when a player gets an early technical? Or do you want to see the same rules in the regulars, in the finals, in the first quarter, in the fourth quarter, And we can expand this conversation further. We're talking about kind of technical fouls, and there is some gray area in a technical foul.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, this plays out into just regular fouls throughout the game. Regular season versus the finals, first quarter versus the fourth quarter, the first minute of the fourth quarter versus the final minute of the fourth quarter. Where do you come out as a fan, wanting to see consistency with refs, or, hey, keep the best players out there? If Draymond Green needs to, stay out there, don't let it get crazy, but give him a little wiggle room. Are you okay with that mentality? So, Luke, I will let you answer this first.
It's difficult, and it brings me back to I'm always having the battle of the purist in me and the realist. And I'm probably more of a purist than a realist when it comes to sports fandom. And what I mean by that is the realist in me understands at the end of the day, the NBA is a product, an entertainment product. It's not like high school basketball. It's not like middle school basketball. These guys, the NBA operates as we have a product to sell to the fans. We have to make the owners happy as well. And to do that, we need our best players on the floor. That's why there's a sixth foul in the NBA. You don't foul after 5. That's why the NBA playoffs operate differently than the regular season. That's why there's talks on how do we make the season maybe shorter in order to have our players on the court more often so they don't have to take rest games. So I understand that, but the purist in me is stronger, because what Draymond Green is doing is he has found a loophole because he should have been ejected from last night's game.
Because it should have just been a double technical with him and Jalen.
In regards to, he already had one tech.
Yeah.
And every regular season basketball game, if not many playoff basketball games, he's getting that second tech. For sure in the regular season, it's a scuffle. They always call double tech. Hey, we want to cool down temperatures. We don't want this to get out of hand. And in the playoffs, if Draymond has 0 techs, they're giving out a double tech, and he's getting his first one. But because he already has a technical foul, you can push the boundary more. Now the onus is on the refs to call that second one. Do you want to be the ref to eject one of the premier NBA talents? You don't want to be that ref. And even Steve Javi said, Van Gundy asked him, are they considering that Draymond has a tech? And Steve Javi said, yes, they are. They're understanding one player already has a tech. Does this warrant a second one? The purist in me says, it's a tech every single time, so just call it. That's Draymond's fault. He should know better. But he's being rewarded for already having a tech, and he's able to push the boundary more and say, you're not going to give me a second one. I can get away with more now. Same thing happened in the Golden State Mavs series, and the same thing's happening now where he can get away with more because the refs are not going to call that second one unless it's just an egregious act. So the purist in me is upset with that.
So what I'm convinced of is this will not be the case. I think they will be more than willing to eject Draymond. The biggest danger for the NBA, you can't have the Warriors go down 0-2 to start the finals. And so there's no way that they were going to put that in jeopardy by ejecting Draymond. So I think it speaks wanting a good series. Then Draymond Green is some important superstar that you have to have out there so that fans watch. I'm not sure that's so true. And even in watching the post-game interview with SportsCenter, and this is what he said, I've earned differential treatment. What? I mean, I think he's a good player. I think he's been a key part to this run. There's no question. And his defense and his ability to pass the ball, he's a key part. Not taking that away from him. But to put him on some kind of level like the Jordan rules where he gets away with stuff, or LeBron and gets away with stuff, come on. I don't see it like that. I see it more from a series team side of things, and that's why Draymond got away with it in this situation yesterday in Game 2.
I agree with that. I just don't like that that's the case. Like, the refs, stay out of it. Just call the game. Don't.
Would you I don't want to know two series.
If Draymond's going to act a fool and get himself ejected, then yeah. But for the refs to have to step in and be like, you know what, Draymond's really pushing the boundary, but in order to make the series well, we're not going to eject him. No, don't reward him for already having a tech and already pushing the boundary. If he's going to do that, the part of being a good player is being able to control your emotions.
Absolutely.
To reward someone for being able to push the boundary is crazy to me. If they go down 2-0, and again, this is the realist and the purist, the refs probably have some responsibility being able to step in and have some type of control. That one official who ended up going to jail for some type of betting, I'm forgetting his name, but he's on record saying during officiating meetings, they have some type of plan on, we want the game to go this direction because the league office tells them. And I just think that's unfortunate. And again, I know that's what's going on and it's about entertainment, but I wish it could just be about basketball. But I don't know if that's possible. I wish it was the case.
So I guess, I'm not in disagreement with you. I still go back to, wanting the best possible matchup. And Draymond needs to just understand and remember, hey man, a few years ago, you cost your team. So you can't be flirting with getting ejected. And that to me is selfish of him.
Yeah.
And hey, Draymond, he said something about, don't have I couldn't let Jaylen Brown stand on top of me or in front of me or whatever. Like, come on, man. You got to move forward and get back on defense. Come on.
You're going to foul him and then you're going to rest your legs on his head and then you're going to grab him by the shorts to get yourself up. Come on. What do we do?
No. And so then my second part to this whole thing is I've been an NBA defender my whole life. I've been an NBA. That was the first sport I fell in love with. So I love the NBA. I love the NBA finals. And I'm not ref guy. I've never been ref guy. So the refs don't determine or a series. I try not to, in any sport for that matter. But people criticize the NBA. And early in that game, it was missed layups. It was bad calls. It was, either
very
no calls
sloppy
or a touch foul call. And so there is inconsistency. And so I am curious how much that affects, all of you that are listening of the finals. And so for me, I can look beyond all of that and I see what the storyline is with the Golden State Warriors being back in the NBA finals. And I'm so intrigued by that. The injuries to now being here. Kevin Durant leaves, now they're here. The whole Boston Celtics story is fascinating to me that Udoka in his first year could get this team over the hump when Brad Stevens never could. And then Brad Stevens goes into the front office, makes a couple small moves, but really strategic and successful moves. They've worked to go bring back Al Horford, to trade for Derek White at the trade deadline. No one was talking about that trade. What was everyone talking about? James Harden for Ben Simmons. Who cares? Those guys are irrelevant. They don't even matter anymore. You know who matters is Derek White played all right in game one.
All my Spurs friends, all my friends who are Spurs fans are really missing Derek White.
Yeah.
Very strong impact. Good player.
Small moves. So anyway, so I say all that to say the storylines and the players and the individual performances, the Jordan Poole performance, the Jason Tatum bouncing back, the Klay Thompson not playing well. That's interesting to me. When does he get going? It's hot, right? We know he's it's still post-injury, but he's already shown since coming back from the injury, he can have a big night. So will that be game 3 and they take the lead? Or going back to Boston or going to Boston for the first time in the series, how will that affect things? And now Boston takes the lead in the series.
The series is just awesome. We couldn't have asked for two better teams to compete who are both so good on the defensive end and both have players on offense that can torch you. It's awesome. You got Steve Kerr versus the new coach. It's a great series. Look, I'm not mad that's 1-1. I want it to be competitive, but I want it to be competitive because the players are deciding it.
Yes.
Not because the refs have to step in and have more impact than necessary.
So I read an article. I didn't catch this during the broadcast, so I don't know 100%, but I think Steve Javi used the phrase selective enforcement. Did you hear that? Did he say that? Anyway, that's the term that I read an article about. Like, that's what the refs kind of operate under, selective enforcement. And so that's really interesting as a fan. Yeah, do I want selective enforcement of the traveling call? Like, think about, people complain about that too. But fouls, travels.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me. It's
but it's the same in football too. Holding, and there's so much selective enforcement. And so we never, to your point, we never want the refs to steal the show, make it all about them and their selective enforcement. But it just depends, usually, our perspective on, is it benefiting our team or not? And is it overly affecting the whole outcome of the game?
I think so. I mean, that's my problem with the NBA. It's unlike any other level of basketball, and that in regards to selective enforcement, the refs have too much impact on the game. The amount of, and again, I'm probably more of a purist than anyone, but every high school official, someone catches the ball on offense, you look at their feet. Do they travel? If they did, turnover. I was even trained this for intramurals. One ref is watching the lane for lane violations on free throws. And you call it every time if there's a lane violation. NBA, no chance. Outside of the one random one every 3 games, what's even the point of that? If you're not going to call it, then don't call it every 3 games. Travel. Like Draymond had an egregious travel. Caught the ball under the basket last night. Traveled, jumped in the air, then pump faked and was fouled by Horford. In every level of basketball, that's a travel. But in the NBA, I'm like, my opinion used to be these refs have to just be horrendous and they're not trained well. But I guess it is the selective enforcement, and it's not entertaining to call travels. But like, just refs, get out of the way. Just do your job, call basketball like the rules demand, and let the players decide the game. We're going to be entertained by it because of the greatest basketball players in the world playing. But just call basketball like according to the rules. So I probably am more upset about this than most people, and I understand that, and I will admit that. But it doesn't change the fact that it drives me crazy.
I'm not going to let it steal our joy from the excitement of this series, and I'm so intrigued heading into Game 3. How will this Celtics respond? But I do think selective enforcement has some spiritual ramifications as well. So I didn't write today's Unpack This about selective enforcement, but I may have to. So we'll see. So I think there's some parallels there when we pick and choose sins that we think are bad or that we want to follow or don't want to follow, and I step on all of our toes a little bit when we start thinking about that. So, but speaking of Unpack This, I want to go a different direction today. And this is our segment each week where we take a sports topic related to the Bible, related to our own lives. And here at Unpacking, as you can tell, we're passionate about sports, but we're even more passionate in understanding, what it looks like to really live for Him and to challenge one another, encourage one another in this journey as we reach at different stages of the journey. Some are still exploring. All right, do I really believe? And what does that mean? And for some of us, it's been years of following and growing and maturing and God continuing to refine us a little bit at a time. And so today, I want to talk about really the theme of this matchup between the Celtics and the Warriors is defense. Both of these teams are known for their defense. It's the top 2 defenses from the regular season, and defense has allowed them to get to this point in the final, to be in the finals. And what's interesting with the Warriors is normally our focus is on the amazing shooting of the Warriors. And, epic shooting, historic shooting throughout this whole run. It's Steph Curry, it's Klay Thompson, 2 of the best shooters ever. Now we have Jordan Poole. Stick around for the Medi-Share moment of the week. We'll talk more about him. But great shooters. Even Andrew Wiggins is a pretty good shooter in this Warriors system. Even Draymond at times can hit it. Really our focus. However, this Warriors defense, this Warriors team has gotten really good at defense, and specifically Steph Curry. And he's always kind of gotten a bad reputation for not being a great defender. Maybe good at getting steals and that sort of thing. But if you watched him last night, he played good defense, and he's really been intentional about putting effort in on the defensive end. And so when I think about a team that's good at defense, it comes down really to two things: it's strategy and intentional effort. That's really what defense is. And
Yep.
as someone who I was an okay basketball player, pretty average on the average side for church basketball, but I would play defense, and I would even play defense all the way in the backcourt. So I was one of the
Oh,
annoying
you were a
defenders,
pickup
which you
game
love,
full
Luke.
court
Yeah.
defense guy?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on. Get out of here.
You better believe it. So
Get out of here.
from the tip until the end of the game, I don't even care if my team is down 20 or we're up 20. I'm playing D until the buzzer sounds.
Oh.
All right. So, but really, so the story in the series in game 4 of in the fourth quarter of game 1, the Celtics were awesome at defense. They shut down the Warriors and they were able to pull away and beat the Warriors. In game 2, it was the third quarter for the Warriors where they were hitting shots, but it was really defensively they shut down the Celtics.
Yep.
And the Celtics were dead in the water heading into the fourth, and they were down by 2 miles. So the game was over at that point, but it was defense that really won both games. And so we hear the cliche defense wins championships, and there is so much truth to that. And so when we think about what it takes to be a good defense, especially in this series, you got to stop the pick and roll. You got to be able to rotate, switch. You can't let your guard down when the pressure gets intense,
especially against the Warriors
in the finals.
That, like, Mikal Bridges has talked about that. If you rest for half a second, that's 10 feet of separation Steph Curry has for a wide open three, because they're constantly running. You have to be engaged the entire possession.
And you have to remain in the right position to stop the other team from attacking the rim. So who's going to guard the basket better is really what it's going to come down to in this series. And so how does this parallel our own lives? Well, I think it's important for all of us to understand how important a stout defense is when it comes to guarding against sin. And so just like Curry improved as a defender over the years, we need to guard better into guarding our hearts. And so what does that look like? Because here's the deal. We know this. There is temptation all around us. There is an allure for sin at every corner. And so we're getting attacked, right? The offense is coming down the floor, so to speak. Are we adjusting? Are we switching and rotating? Are we guarding the basket? Are we stopping the attacks that are coming? And so are we putting in the intentional effort to have a great defense, to guard our heart? Are we letting our guard down? Are we getting lazy on defense? And our guard's not up against sin and temptation. And so we know that there's an enemy looking to attack the basket, to attack our heart, to penetrate, right? To penetrate our and to take over. And so what type of defense do we have in our lives? And so the book of wisdom, Proverbs, says, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. In Luke 21, but be on guard so that your hearts are not weighed down and depressed with the giddiness of debauchery and the nausea of self-indulgence and the worldly worries of life. And so there you go. You can read more. And then in Matthew it says, but the words you speak come from the heart. That's what defiles you. For from the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, lying, and slander. So it comes from the heart. So we got to guard the heart. That's what it comes down to. We got to have a defense around our heart. And what does that look like? Well, one, we have to know Scripture, meditate on Scripture so that when the attacks come, we can stand firm. We can stand firm by remembering Scripture. And we also have to understand of Satan and understand how he's going to attack. And so NBA teams that are good at defense, they watch game film, they understand what the offense is trying to do, and then they combat that. And so what was the big adjustment that Golden State made to the great Boston defense from started doing more pick and rolls. And so it threw off the Celtics defense a little bit. But for us, it's important that we make those adjustments in life when we're getting attacked and we have to adjust. And so we have to guard our heart. So the question is, what are we putting in our heart? Of our heart? We're wondering, man, I want to stop this or stop that in life, or this sin continues to be a struggle of mine. We got to get to the heart of the issue. What's going on in the heart? And are we guarding our heart? So that's my big takeaway today for each of us. It plays out a little bit differently. But going back to Proverbs, guard determines the course of your life. So where's our heart leading us? And is our heart fully devoted to God, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? But we gotta love him with our whole heart and be wholly devoted to him with our whole heart. Then when temptation comes, we'll be able to stand firm, right? That right stance. I think about the defensive stance. You gotta have that. Be able to okay, they're trying to penetrate, they're trying to get in here. All right, let's stand firm. Rotate. And you need your teammates too. And we need accountability. And we need people around us to say, whoa, look right. Come on, step back. It's coming to your left. Rotate. Those are the things that are yelled out on defense. And so I hope that's encouraging to you today. And I know it's a challenge for all of us to evaluate and say, all right, Lord, help me guard my heart better. And so that wonderful things come out of our heart, right? We're putting good things into our lives. We're keeping the negative stuff out, the evil out, then we're going to respond well when the attacks do happen. So, all right, Luke, what are your thoughts on defense? I can imagine you don't really care about defense, but hopefully spiritually, that's not the case.
Man, I probably wasn't the greatest defender back in high school. Well, I'll tell you this: elite charge taker, and that is a key component of defense. I could not guard the ball one-on-one. Like every year, we would have summer break, and then our first practice back, we would begin practice with full court one-on-one, and you had to stay on defense until you got to stop. So, I'd stay on defense for an eternity. Full court one-on-one against our point guards, 0% chance I was getting off the floor. Go right by me. So defense wasn't my forte. You could count me in for a couple rebounds, a charge or two, a couple baskets, a couple assists. So that was my game. But it is a good topic about guarding our heart. And I think it really pushes against a wildly untrue cultural belief, which is to follow your heart. That could not be further from the truth. You hear that in every movie, every book, and a lot of conversations when people are making decisions. You know what, man? You just got to follow your heart. Follow your heart. Like, are you kidding me? Well, what does the Bible say? You and I both, and Christians should have a high view of God's word. Jeremiah 17:9 says the heart is wicked and deceitful, and you should not follow it. And we know that in our own strength and our own desires, we pursue sin. And then God saves us and gives us his Holy Spirit. And then it's this battle of submitting to the Spirit or submitting to the flesh. And the flesh is our own heart. So if we follow our own heart, we will be in sin. It'll lead to destruction. It will lead to death. But if we submit to the Spirit, and if we submit to pursuing God's heart, then that's where life in fulfillment is, and faithfulness and obedience. So you talking about guarding our heart reminded me of that, because it's just an unfortunate cultural belief that even a lot of Christians can find themselves saying on, okay, but what's your gut feeling? Or like, you got to follow your heart, man. What do you desire? What's your heart? Well, we got to discern, is this a desire of God's heart of holiness? Or is this a desire of my own heart, which is inherently born sinful and desiring sin? So that's what I first think of. I'd love to know your thoughts on that because again, it's in every movie, following your heart, and it leads to destruction.
No, well, it's interesting because I even said, as I was talking earlier, where is your heart leading you? And so, yeah, I guess I have to clarify that because that's maybe vague in light of what you said. But yeah, I agree that, yeah, our heart has to be guarded, which is what we're talking about, and then aligned with God's heart and seeking
Yes.
his heart and wanting to know the path that he wants us on. And so, just going back to that verse I mentioned twice, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. And so we are following our heart, but yeah, if we're following our selfish heart, where's that leading us?
Yep.
And so, but if we're actually, the better thing to say is seek God's heart,
That's right.
seek the heart of God.
And align our hearts with God's heart. So we're
That's right.
guarding our hearts so that it can be protected from going away from God's heart or towards sin.
That's right.
So if we have to guard it from sinful influences, guard it from certain things, and actually feed it with God's word, with prayer, with time with God's people, and things of holiness, so that it's more aligned with God's heart. Because
Mm,
following Jesus is the Spirit working on our hearts to be more aligned with God's desires. It's the process of sanctification on we start to care more about what God cares about. We start to love more what God loves. And guarding our heart is living in such a way, thinking in such a way, watching, listening, doing all things in such a way that leads to further aligning our heart with God's rather than just following it in our own strength. Oh, yeah, whatever my heart thinks. Well, no, again, what is my heart after God's heart right now? Or is it completely self serving? And we have to discern that instead of like, oh, what's my internal desire? Yeah, follow your heart, man. No, no, do not follow your own heart without discerning, is this a desire of God?
yeah, I guess my only pushback is if your heart is aligned with God, then you follow your heart, but it's really God's heart that you're following. So, but that's
Yeah.
semantics.
Con-
That's
yeah,
semantics.
conviction. Yeah, conviction on your heart, a different discussion. But in regards to just follow your own heart, and
Do
because
whatever you want.
that's
Do whatever
often
feels
used on
good.
just do what you want, man. Just do what
Right?
you want. Do it
Yeah.
feels good for you. Follow
Oh,
your own heart, and it's gonna. I mean, follow your truth. What does that even mean?
oh,
So no, we follow the
oof.
truth of God's word, and we align our hearts with God's heart. Um, so it's our heart's worth protecting,
That's right.
or it's going to be influenced really significantly by sin. And God's word tells us our hearts are sinful in their own strength. We're born with a sinful heart, and we need to align it with God's heart, or we'll just continue pursuing sin. So
That's
it's
right.
part of this, I guess, is semantics on how we're discussing it.
Yeah, but to think about what we're saying, yeah, instead of
Yeah.
just throwing out cliches,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
willy nilly,
Yeah.
willy nilly. Is that a cliche?
Just
Willy nilly.
feeding off the cliche bank.
Yeah. So we gotta think about what that actually looks like. So yeah, the encouragement today: be on guard. What goes into our hearts and for that matter our minds as well. Um, and really, yeah, protect them, protect the heart. So that's the parallel for us today as we watch these great defenses in the NBA Finals. And last night's scoring was low. I mean, to think about a team scoring under 100 in today's NBA, where we see more offense in general, that was Steph Curry stepping it up on the defensive end. So if we haven't been
Yep.
great at defense and guarding our heart, we can change. We can get better. We can seek the Lord in that and put the right effort in, but the right parameters as well and strategy that's needed.
Yep.
And people around you, having those teammates is crucial as well. All right, so let's talk about some of the other kind of storylines inside and outside of the NBA Finals. I know for me, the NBA coaching situation is fascinating to me because here we are, Steve Kerr's been there forever. On game where we have to suffer through Mark Jackson and his takeaways, but the idea that there he was in Golden State, this doesn't work. We need to get somebody else in here. Steve Kerr comes in, and now they've made the finals 6 out of 8 years. And then going
Yeah.
back to what I said with Udoka, Brad Stevens was a really good NBA coach, a great college coach, and was
Yep.
doing a nice job in Boston. And then all of a sudden, it's like, no, he's going to go up to the front office. And Udoka, a first-year guy, he's going to get the team to the NBA Finals. Fascinating. And then you think about the kind of off-season moves. So Frank Vogel wins an NBA championship with the Lakers, and then a bad year with Russell Westbrook. He's out. So see ya. Thanks, Frank. So where does Frank Vogel end up? And then you have a coach like Mike D'Antoni, who has been around the NBA a long time. He keeps getting more opportunities to the NBA championship. He's been to the Western Finals. Maybe Phoenix got there, but never got through. Yet Mike D'Antoni is interviewing with Michael Jordan and my Charlotte Hornets for an opportunity to coach again. Are you kidding me? I mean, what is the deal with that? So I do not want him. But then the Lakers, they go out of the blue, grab a guy named Darvin Ham off the Milwaukee Bucks assistant coach off their bench, Mike Budenholzer's bench. And so I guess I'm just fascinated by the whole thing because I don't think there's any right formula. There is no formula to finding the right coach in the NBA. And oftentimes it really comes down to a new voice. Because look at the Utah Jazz. Great consistency, but they haven't been able to break through. And so Quinn Snyder, he steps down. Did the Jazz want him? It seemed like it. They were going to give him a big contract. That was what the news was. Yep. And then now he steps down. So now does he go to another team? Does he come to the Hornets? And all of a sudden a new voice in Charlotte, that works out great. So I don't know if you keep up with the coaching carousel or are you intrigued as much as I am by it?
Well, I don't think anyone beats you in regards to coaching carousel fandom or keeping up with coaches. But I do love it. I mean, it's a huge part of sports. I mean, professional coaching is so interesting because, and again, just pro sports are just so different than amateur sports. Not to state the obvious, but in like high school and college, coaches are a clear authority figure. Even like Coach K at Duke, he is so clearly an authority. Like, you're going to do what I say. And in the NBA, players are making more than the coaches. Like, there is an authority, but it's kind of some gray area on what that authority is. It's a grown man coaching grown men, and that's difficult. So it really comes down to fit. And then, I always think of this, like, how do you coach a guy like LeBron? Like, maybe you have to bring in a guy like Ham. You can't, like, how would LeBron get along with if Popovich was his coach? That would be an authority struggle there because LeBron's behind the scenes putting teams together to some extent. He's an incredible basketball mind. Everyone talks about LeBron sees the game better than any player they've ever played with. He's a genius. So how do you coach a guy like that in practice or in games? We saw the coach at Michigan go to Cleveland, massive failure. Beeline, because it's hard. It's not that clear authority structure, and so that's what I'm fascinated about. On how do you coach pros? It's got to be, especially if you're used to the college level. But if you start as an assistant in the NBA, you know the game, you know how it works. But for a guy like Brad Stevens to come to the NBA, that's a big jump. For him to have tremendous success is awesome. It shows his flexibility. Billy Donovan, Florida Gators, great too, back-to-back national championships. So it's just, that fascinates me because that authority structure is not clear enough. And I think that would be difficult.
But that's not a good thing. That's a breakdown of authority. And I think if we expand this throughout life, is just a big issue in today's culture, and then a lack of respect for leaders and authority. And so, this idea that players can't listen to coaches, that's such a bad setup. And the idea that Kyrie Irving, and don't get me started on him again, but they didn't, well, Steve Nash, is he our coach? Well, we don't really need a coach. And yeah, you do. Somebody's got to be in charge, and somebody's got to be on the outside looking in to figure out how all five pieces, play together and how to use the bench and when to bring guys in and to understand the stats. And there's a lot that goes into coaching, but as fans can downplay NBA coaches because we'll hear the timeout, like the audio. What do they call it?
The in-game audio. All they tell them, the only thing they tell them is, hey, we got to be aggressive. We got to hit the boards.
Come on, guys, we got to play harder out there. Come on.
Yeah. Thanks,
Come on,
John, to take your line. Like, what are we doing? You think they really need to hear that? We got to play harder out there. So it's
so
just
much more than that.
Oh, it's just, it's fascinating. But sometimes you do need to hear a new voice. I mean, Jason Kidd was the new voice that Dallas needed. Carlisle and Luka for sure didn't get along. Carlisle saw the writing on the wall. He's like, I got to get out of here. This franchise is run terribly. And Kidd came in. Him and Luka are off to a great start. But again, I just get back to what is the NBA coach's role? I was such a Spoelstra hater in 2011 to however long the Heatles were. I mean, I told everyone, any coach can win there. I don't care what coach is coaching Miami. They will win. What is Eric Spoelstra doing? Since then, Spoelstra has proven to be a tremendous coach.
Yeah.
But when you had Wade, Bosch, and LeBron, at that point, it was just, how can we put together a super team? We don't care what coach is here.
Yeah.
So Spoelstra has proven me otherwise. But I remember thinking, there's no way he has any significant impact here because you already have the great players on one team.
No, I mean, in the NBA, there is something to be said about that. But there have been that can't win because they don't have the right coach. And I think in Brooklyn, they got a lot of problems. But I'm not sure that Steve Nash has the respect. He doesn't have the respect of those guys. And so you have to have a coach that's going to have the respect of the team. And so I think Frank Vogel did a great job in LA. Everyone downplays that bubble championship. To me, that was hard to win. To win at any was impressive. Just surviving the Rona is a big deal, let alone going to win a championship in those weird circumstances. So that anyway, that he gets
Vogel was just
of credit for that.
Yeah, Vogel had to blame someone, and obviously they're not going to blame LeBron because he's
can't blame LeBron for bringing in his boy Rob.
Oh,
it's unfortunate.
Terrible.
But how about Juwan Howard saying no to the Lakers? He's staying in Michigan. That was I
like that a lot. I'm glad that he's passionate about proving something at Michigan. I love seeing guys love their alma maters too. I think that's really cool.
I like that too. That's a bet, and he can be there for 20 years because as we've seen, guys do not stay long in the NBA unless you're Popovich. Spoelstra's now been there for a while.
Yeah.
But other than that, who's been there? Who's been at their Quinn Snyder's now leaving. So very rarely do guys. I'm trying to think of anybody else.
How long has Budenholzer been in Milwaukee?
Not that long. He was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
He was in Atlanta, coach of the year there. Right? I think they were number one in the East just a few years ago.
They had some good teams. Just couldn't win in the playoffs. Gosh, Joe Johnson, Al Horford.
That's right. Man. Horford, man, he's still getting it done. He's impressive. All right, so let's do our Medi-Share moment of the week. Hear from Luke, and we're gonna step away from sports for a moment, and we're gonna do our life quandary of the week. And so if you listen to our podcast, hopefully you know and love that Luke and I are both on the same page that we evaluate life where we go. And we notice things that maybe the common person doesn't notice, but maybe you do. Maybe as a listener, you do notice it too. And we're bringing some of these things to light. And so today, Luke is going to question and call out a certain group of people today. So in a loving, don't worry. So we'll have some fun with that. All right. So our Medi-Share moment of the week. Last night, the Golden State Warriors were rolling in that third quarter. And Steph Curry has the ability to really get the crowd into it. But Jordan Poole has really emerged as a special player for the Warriors. And he's like even better than the Leandro Barbosa, Sean Livingston. He's almost like both of those guys combined.
He's elite.
What his role is on this team. Because the Warriors needed both of those guys were on to win championships. But here's what happened with 6 seconds left in the third quarter. For those watching online, you can watch it, and everybody else, you can listen. Here we go, the Medi-Share moment of the week.
Golden State has a lot of time. Poole with the ball. Launches. Oh! Money!
3.
My favorite part is watching Steph's face.
Has just begun.
Curry's reaction in
Flat
this
out,
next clip
get it done.
is amazing.
Recognizing the clock dwindling down, knocks down the long ball. Good old-fashioned game of pool.
Love it.
This presentation of the NBA Finals continues.
What a moment. And it was just, to me, normally in those kind of buzzer beater type shots, you're sort of running forward and just kind of launching it. That was a step back. That was a step back, deep 3. And that to me is what made that play rare. But then the timing of it, that pretty much sealed the game. That ended the kind of the dagger.
They were already on a huge run, and for that to cap the run, that was incredible. And to your point though about Jordan Poole, to be able to bring a guy like you already have Steph and Clay, and then you get to also bring a guy like Jordan Poole to be almost like a 6th man role to control the offense. I mean that's just incredible. Like, opposing defenses have to be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, are you another guy that can just go in fuego and not miss at all? It's remarkable.
Has he had more points than Clay? He might. Yeah, Clay's been off. Clay's been struggling. So Poole stepped up a little bit. Of course, Steph's leading the way. So impressive win for the Warriors, and the fun continues. Wednesday night, tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Today's Monday.
Wednesday night. There it is. Yep.
Today's Monday.
Is it normally 2 days in between games? That's throwing me off because they also play Friday.
Usually it's like Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. I remember that always being the case, but yeah, it got off this year. All right. So thanks to Medi-Share for being our presenting sponsor. Check out Medi-Share.com/unpacking it and figure out if they're the right fit for you. Make some changes to your healthcare, and doing a video explaining what Medi-Share offers. And so look for that video. It's coming out soon. Where we answer some of the questions that you've had. I've talked to different people asking me about Medi-Share, and so, hey, do you really use it? Yeah, I really use it. This is what my family, we've been members for, now that I've been saying over 5 for a while. I think we've probably hit the 6-year mark at this point. So yeah, we've used it, and now we've got 2 daughters that are part of the Medi-Share family as well. So that's so it's pretty cool. Medi-Share.com/unpacking it. All right, Luke, everyone's waiting. Everybody's tuning in right now to hear this week's life quandary. So take it away.
Well, so I'm trying to we've talked about multiple. So I'll let you set it up because I don't know which one to go with, because now, like you said, we pay attention to so many. Our whole lives are just life quandary after another.
So in many ways, when we go out to dinner, or we go to a store, we interact with the cashier, the waitress, and that dynamic is always fascinating in many different ways. And so there are a lot of different observations that we could go with, but I will let you ship route.
So, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but after this conversation, hopefully all of you listeners will recall all of the times this has been the case. Or maybe if you have made the unfortunate mistake of doing this as one who has possibly worked as a waiter or an employee of a store. And it's just claiming ownership of things that are not yours. It drives me insane. It comes across as cocky, or like, who are you? I know you're just an employee here. This is not yours. So I'll give 2 examples. So Madeline and I go out to get pizza this past week. We're looking at the menu. There's a lot of fancy, really good pizzas, really good pizza place in Fort Worth. And we're looking, we see this one pizza. Hey, what do you think about this pizza? Would you recommend this pizza? And the waiter goes, I just sold my last one. Just sold my last one of those. And I'm like, his last one. is he the store owner? Is
Mm.
this guy the owner of this establishment? How cool that he's serving us. Asked him again, what about this one? Sorry, yeah, no, that's one of my favorites. I love selling those, but I just ran out of my last one. Excuse me,
How do
sir.
you get out of pizza? But that's a separate topic.
Like, I'm like, yeah, that's another interesting thing. But
Run out.
the phrase "I ran out of my last one," I just sold my last one. Another example. This one was outrageous. Madeline and I were. This is back when we were engaged. We're starting to look for furniture to furnish our future apartment, and go to a couch place, Haverty's, good place. And we walk in, greeted by one of the employees, said, "Hey, we're looking for possibly a sectional couch. We love sectionals." And he said, "You know what? All my sectionals over here. If you're looking for these type of chairs, all my chairs are over here of this side. And if you don't want a sectional couch, all my non-sectional couches are over here. So if you want any of these, my sectional couch is over here." Thinking, yours? Yours? These are not yours. You are a paid employee of Haverty's. You definitely don't own Haverty's. They're not yours. But those examples, employees that talk about it like it's theirs, it's not cool. Like, I think like they're trying to take ownership of, oh yeah, this is my job. I'm taking it seriously. All my couches over here. Sorry, I just sold my last pizza. Come on, man. They're not yours. Say our. You got to speak in our. It's group ownership. Our couches are over here, or the couches are over here.
That's fair.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I can't stand when that happens.
So I don't necessarily understand the outrage, but I appreciate the observation. And when you told me earlier, I was going to go the opposite direction, and I thought you might be able to convince me, but I'm going to stay on the other end because I think that they've taken ownership of their job. They take their job really seriously, and they feel like it's theirs. That means they're all in. Those are the kind of people you want working for you. And so if somebody is the owner, that's the kind of waitress you want. That's the kind of, my pizza over here. Oh, let me see what I can do. I always love that too. Let me see what I can do. If they have the power to do something. Let me go check on that. Let me see what I can do. But no, I like that. I think that person is working hard. It may be a tad annoying for you and I as the customer, but I think that mentality, heart behind it, is a positive thing for the actual business and the owner.
The heart behind it, yes, but gosh, it's so cringeworthy. And I'm gonna start just like, you know what? I'm not gonna take my business here tonight. Your pizza.
Go home, say, I'll go find a pizza somewhere else. I know Papa John's isn't out of their pepperoni.
Don't sleep on PJs. Big Domino's guy though. But
I've gone back
especially
and
the
forth over the years.
couch guy though, like, all my couches, these are my favorite couch. Yeah, all my favorite couches are over here, or all my sectionals. If you want to find my sectionals, they're over here. Dude, we all know, like, dude, stop playing the game. We all know they're not yours. You can work hard. Just say our sectionals, the ones we sell here. They're not yours.
It's fair.
So I don't know. I can't get past it. It's uncomfortable to me. It's so uncomfortable to me.
Next time you just need to ask, do you own it?
I should.
Oh,
I really should. Oh, how long have
you're
you
the
owned this
owner.
place for?
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
Do it.
Yeah. How long did it
wanna
take
hear
you to
back.
make those sectionals? Man.
I want to hear back on that. So, all right, it's a good take. Let us know your thoughts. Where do you come out on this? I guess Luke and I do disagree slightly. I can get in on the hour, though. I have a fair answer to the issue. But let us know. Bryce at unpackingit.com. You can also email Luke and give him a hard time. Luke at unpackingit.com as well.
I'm about to get some slander in my inbox now.
Yeah, that's right. So there you go. All right, let's do fortunately, we had technical difficulties today, and Henry had to leave early, so our recording got bumped just slightly, and a number of things happened today, but here we are. We're still rolling. So we're going to do tap drill with just the two of us, but we do have two interns that are helping per topics, and so they're doing a great job as well, Landon and CJ. But here's a couple topics we'll just throw out there for you and I, Luke. So apparently the Madden cover is out, and so we always wonder, all right, who's gonna get the Madden years? They get on, great honor, and then they get injured. But John Madden, in honor of the late great John Madden, he is on the cover, which is cool. So I'm excited about that. But the question is, do you still play Madden? And what time in your life did you play Madden the most?
So I was never a huge video game connoisseur. And as in, I'm by myself at home. Let me fire up the PlayStation and put in some serious hours on a game console. I mean, I love playing video games with friends, still do. It's fun. But that's not something I like to do in my own free time as like a hobby. Let me fire up Call of Duty, or let me play online 2K or Madden. I don't know. That's never been something I've loved. I think
That's
Madeline.
a thing?
I think Madeline.
Online?
Yeah, I think Madeline appreciates that. That I don't just get lost in the world of video games for hours. Although I do get lost in the world of sports watching for hours, so maybe it's not better. But I love Madden. I grew up playing. That was like the thing. Go over to a friend's house and play hours of Madden, or do a fantasy draft, create your own team.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I enjoyed the off season more than actually playing the game. So I enjoyed putting together rosters. And so this was before I played fantasy football. And so now I play fantasy football, so I don't need to play Madden.
You were like the
love it.
diehard. You've just always been the diehard sports nerd. Like you would rather put together rosters on Madden than actually play the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I'm trying to
NBA
go
Live.
get.
I always played NBA Live doing the same thing.
Like I'm just trying to force feed Adrian Peterson, get 350 yards in a Madden game, and you're tinkering with
what kind of trade can I
rosters.
pull off? Yeah. What will the computer allow? Will they allow this trade? Can I go get this quarterback for this offensive lineman? Will they do it?
Oh, I remember
Then
the
you get the
funniest
rejection,
thing.
you got to rework it. You got to make sure the salary caps line up.
We
It's
were
great.
the funniest thing. I was doing a fantasy draft with my buddy growing up. We're probably 6th grade, and with the first overall pick, we drafted Brian Urlacher, and it was a great pick for us. But it was hilarious. My buddy didn't know how to pronounce his last name, so he goes, "Dude, we just got Brian Urlacher. Yes, we got Brian Urlacher." I'm like,
The legend.
who is Brian Urlacher?
Oh
We
my
just got
goodness.
Urlacher. So I thought that was one of the most egregious mispronunciations of an athlete's name I've ever heard, and it's hilarious to this day. Urlacher.
He was well known.
I know.
I mean, so that means he wasn't watching much football. That's bad. My next question here for little tap drill. Did you watch the match between Brady and Rodgers and Mahomes and Allen? What was your consumption of that?
I watched a grand total of 0 seconds.
Oh, you missed out. It was fun. It was
I
cool.
watched the highlights, but we've talked about it before. I can't do with the cringe interviews anymore. Now we don't even have any pro golfers. So I don't want to be anti-match guy, but if it's on, I would have watched. But I was like, you know what? I'm out and
It was
about.
on.
I don't need to stay home for this. I'll get the highlights. It's fine. I will say though, Jim Nantz said something. I was watching the memorial, and it was one of his lowest moments as a broadcaster. I was just texting a buddy on, is Jim Nantz getting a little old? We're hearing some things on the telecast, but Aaron Wise had a putt on one of the last holes, and Jim Nantz goes, let's see if he can make this like Aaron Rodgers made his match-winning putt at Capital Wins the Match. Although Aaron Wise doesn't have this for a win, and it's not for birdie, but let's see if he can make it. I was like, oh, man, are you kidding me? What a brutal comparison.
A little bit of a stretch, but can't rip on Uncle Jimmy. So I'm a Jim Nantz defender. So
outside of
love that
wedding
guy.
toasts, then you're not a defender.
Well, no, we both gave a wedding toast at the same wedding. So I'm not gonna say which one was better. I think we all know. I think we all know. So yeah, no, he's always.
Did you watch the match?
I did. I enjoyed it. I had it on my second TV, so I wasn't listening to everything, but I
Oh, it
kept
was
an eye on
demoted.
it.
It was demoted.
It was demoted. It was on the side.
What was on the
But,
first TV?
I can't remember.
I will have you know. I will have you know. Watching Downton Abbey is going well. So thanks for asking. We're
I
on
was
season
not
2.
asking, and that's unacceptable behavior.
We're on season
should be
2,
suspended.
and it's tremendous still. So
You
I
should be
thought you'd
suspended
like to
for
know
that.
that. I know you've been dying to hear.
No, it's upsetting to even think about. What was I watching instead of it? Yeah, I can't remember. What night was that? But anyway, so all right, the last thing. Did you happen to see Bill Simmons at courtside last night at the Warriors game? I just found it interesting. So maybe he's courtside more often than I realized. But of course, he's a Celtics fan.
Yeah.
But instead of being in Boston, he's in San Francisco, which I know he lives on the West Coast. But to think Bill Simmons used to be on during halftime on ESPN, which they desperately miss him. I mean, I love Wilbon, Stephen A. Smith in small doses. I'm not a huge Jalen Rose fan, but that halftime is questionable at best, especially when we come off. I mean, it's just you jump off the cliff from TNT's coverage. But anyway, Bill Simmons was great when he was at ESPN. I always enjoyed that crew. But now he's like Mr. Mogul, Spotify and The Ringer, and he's sitting front row in the NBA Finals. I mean, just think about her. And now that's where he is. So I just find that fascinating. That's more of an observation than anything.
Yeah. Someone who is paid, someone who writes about the game is now sitting courtside because he's made so much writing about the game that now he's watching.
As a
Almost
fan,
doesn't even make sense.
Not there covering it. I mean, technically he'll talk about it in his podcast, but yeah, he's chilling in good seats, kind of behind the basket. So it's pretty cool.
Sir, please tell us about the game that we're also watching with you, and you'll make so much money you'll just start sitting courtside at games. And keep in mind the games we're also watching, and we could still have intellectual takeaways from. That's interesting. I must have missed it. He's not typically the celebrity you see. I feel like Lil Wayne has been getting way too much camera time at games courtside. He's at every Suns game. Like, do we really need? Is that what we're really promoting here? Like, check out this NBA product. Lil Wayne is courtside. Let's show him 10 times during this Mavs Suns game. I don't know. Let's stick to the basketball.
You got Landon in the studio laughing. He thinks that's hilarious. So I saw the Sacramento Kings. I don't know if it was the Warriors or the Celtics, but that was interesting too. Like
I saw
the owner of another team
at a playoff game. Cade Cunningham was in like the 5th row at a playoff game, which seems interesting. That's like a diehard basketball fan. Got to be at the game in street clothes.
But how about last night? Jalen, as a freshman or sophomore in college, was at the Warriors finals game as a college player.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was cool. Talking
really
about
cool.
One day I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
Sure enough, he is.
That was cool.
That was a great story, actually. Did you caught that?
I did.
They were talking about
that was during his
Jason.
Draft process almost. He was going to be drafted that next draft.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then that was a good tidbit during the game last night. So last thing, Nadal, he won his 14th French Open.
14-0 in finals.
We don't talk much tennis, but man, that's unbelievable. It's almost as impressive as me coming out of retirement to play ping pong last night. I played a little ping pong over at the Shake Shack. I was swinging it again, baby.
They have tables at Shake Shack?
I know. It was shocking. It was fun.
Were you just like taking strangers' money there? What was going on?
Yeah, I mean, these 12-year-old boys, came in. They were, it's just whack, whack, whack. Yeah, so it was great. Well, no, I didn't play.
My big concern.
I only hit it back. I was only volleying. I was doing a little volley.
Well, where's the competitive spirit?
I know. I've lost it. It's gone. So good for Nadal. He's still got it. He's still.
My concern is you had to come out of retirement to play ping pong. I feel like that's a sport you never retire from. You're always in. You're always in the prime of your career for ping pong.
Maybe it's still. I'm a little sore today. A little sore from the volleying.
Sore.
It's fun. It's actually a nice little game if you're just kind of talking and
a nice little game. You sound like some like polo player. He doesn't have time for these common man sports. It's a nice little game. I'll stick with my horse and polo though. But that's a nice game. No, come on.
Oh man.
Where's some love for table tennis? I will say though, if you have not seen Olympic table tennis, you're missing out.
But to me, you can't even see it. It's so fast.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's too much. All right. Well, we missed that. We didn't hear about your golf tournament adventure, so we'll have to save that for another day. I forgot about that. Sorry about that. So we'll use that as a tease. Luke was at a golf tournament.
That is a tease.
Has some good stories, so we'll
Tune
save
in
that
next
for a
week
rainy
for a very passionate life quandary of mine.
day. That's right.
Be sure to tune in next week, because if you thought I was on my soapbox about NBA officials or about guys saying my pizza, man,
Another level.
You have not heard this life quandary of mine.
Well, thanks to again, encourage you to check out fatherhoodfestival.com. Excited to be a part of that event June 17th through the 18th. Also, thanks to our presenting sponsor, Medi-Share. I'm Bryce. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sin. He was resurrected, and through faith, I've been saved. That is true for you as well. And I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. For Luke, Henry, Landon, and CJ, have a great rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast presented by Medi-Share.